Advent is a cluttered time. Calendars spill over, Christmas wish lists are a menagerie of crossed out ideas. Homes are strewn with decorations, boxes, wrapping paper. In our gospel lesson, John the Baptist speaks from the Judean wilderness to people who have come looking for a way to unclutter their lives. They're looking for a better way to live. Prepare the way of the Lord, he tells them. John speaks to a people who are lost, looking for direction, not so very different from today. The book Malachi takes its name not from a prophet of the name. We know of no prophet named Malachi. It's named after a passage well known in later Judaism. Malachi 3:1 says, "My messenger," which in Hebrew is literally pronounced Malachi. Cyrus, king of Persia, has permitted the people of Israel to return to Palestine. The temple that was destroyed in 586 BC has been restored, but Israel is still a Persian province. After several decades, the people have fallen away from God and faithful lives. There is no king. The priests have become corrupt. The book of Malachi prophesies a messenger, a Malachi, who will come. The messenger was thought to be another Elijah, which is the role John the Baptist plays in our gospel lesson this morning. But how do we prepare the way? How do we make our paths straight? How do we fill in the valleys of our lives? How do we make the mountains and the hills low? How do we make the crooked to be straight? How do we make the rough smooth? I'm reminded of a story told at a National Guard conference years ago, and Chaplain Colonel Ron Cobb may remember this story because I think you were there. It's about two hunters that chartered a little bush plane to go hunting in the great North Woods. The plane returned several days later to the appointed time and place for the pickup. The stipulation was that the two hunters could bring back one bear or moose or whatever big game they were hunting. As the pilot lands in the clearing, the pilot sees not one, but two trophy animals to bring back. He reiterates the little plane's weight limits, but the hunters will not hear of it. They begin to bargain. They are willing to leave all of their expensive gear. They are willing to pay the pilot double or even more if he will strip the plane of everything that is not necessary, that they can only load their two trophy animals on the plane and go home. The pilot agrees. The animals are loaded. The little plane taxis to the far end of the clearing, turns, sets its brakes, revs its engine up as fast as it will go, and they go bouncing across the meadow towards the woodline. Everybody is kind of clenching. As the little plane begins to lift off, they let out a sigh of relief. But one of the wheels catches a very high branch, and dust, debris, knocks everyone out. After a few minutes, the two hunters come to. One shakes his head and says to the other, "Where are we?" The other replies, "Near as I can tell, about 50 yards from where we crashed last year." Amazing how doing the same thing over and over and over again always produces the same result. John the Baptist cries out in the wilderness, a warning. Get ready. Prepare the way of the Lord. Quite a message to a people whose preparations consist of decorating the house and having the family over for a Christmas brunch. And yet, year after year, we go through all the motions of this holy season, and we miss the holy, the real St. Nicholas, and what the old dear saint can bring. The Apostle Paul, in writing to the Philippians in our lesson this morning, gives us a clue. Paul prays for them. He prays for them to get ready so that in the day of Christ you may be pure and blameless, he says in verse 9. Could prayer be the key that we are searching for? St. Augustine was right when he said, "Our hearts are restless until they find their rest in Thee." True prayer is nothing more than a resting in God. Did you hear that? True prayer of the heart, not of the mind, but of the heart, is nothing more than a resting in God. Robert Frost lyrically writes, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. Which road will we choose?" In talking about prayer, Father Thomas Keating famously reiterates, the most difficult thing about prayer is just sitting down. Amen? You can say that. Using the words of the prophet Isaiah, John the Baptist challenges us to sit down. Every valley shall be filled and every mountain brought low. He calls for us to make the crooked places straight. We are challenged to confront those things in our lives that lure us away, to push back the trivial that fills our minds and our hearts, and seek the Christ who was and is to come. Trying harder. Has that ever worked for you? It doesn't work. If the Christian life was a self-help, do-it-yourself project, we would have mastered it a long time ago. It is through prayer, and only through prayer, that we are able to do this. It is through prayer that we can rise above the clutter. It is through prayer that we can make it more than 50 yards further than we did last year. It is through prayer that we can become more and more generous and gracious like our beloved St. Nicholas. You and I, we have an invitation to sit down, fold our hands, close our eyes, and bow our heads. We have an invitation to go beyond the clutter and embrace the hope that was born so long ago in Bethlehem. The Israelites in the book of Malachi's time were trying to find their way home in much the same way as the people who came out to hear and see John the Baptist in the wilderness. The way to Bethlehem is not the jingling, jangling way of a cluttered Christmas. The way to Bethlehem is the path of quiet prayer. Christ is here with us, in us, inviting us to come follow him to Bethlehem as he is reborn within each of our hearts and souls every Advent season. This is the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ for all people who are willing to follow the path of quiet prayer this Advent season. Amen?